Avast ye mateys! It's time for a pirate adventure! Okay, I won't torture you with that voice any longer. Hello everybody, I am Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, and there's a new World of Warcraft event out. Well, I say new, it was in the game before, but they brought it back. It's called Plunderstorm, and it operates extremely differently to pretty much every other element of World of Warcraft. So let's mull it over. The pros, the cons, and why I'm quite happy with this event, and why I really like this current direction World of Warcraft has. So Plunderstorm is a Battle Royale event. Now hold. Now I understand that word, Battle Royale, can elicit fear and anger to a blood-boiling degree much similar to the word gacha. However, while a lot of people are just completely put off by PvP and MMORPGs, I think Plunderstorm does a pretty interesting job with it. The gameplay works extremely differently to everything else in the game, as I've talked about before. On your character select screen, you click on Plunderstorm, you make your own little character, and then you just queue in for a match like any other Battle Royale mode. You can run with a buddy or by yourself. I chose to play by myself because I have no one actually plays this game that I play with. And you're not grinding for player power in the base game here, anything like that. You're grinding for things like transmog, traders tender, pets, mounts, titles, stuff like that. A bunch of cosmetic rewards. The mode takes place in the Arathi Highlands, and it's scattered with a bunch of different hideouts and enemy encampments, filled with NPCs of varying different levels, but also a bunch of loot called plunder that you can find. You accrue plunder and then you spend it in the plunder store to acquire those cosmetic rewards that we talked about before. It is a battle royale mode. You pick roughly where you want to land, and then it's survival of the fittest and who can be the last one standing. And honestly, it's not that hard to make it rather deep into some of these matches. You just kind of avoid other players. You can then just kill NPCs and collect plunder if you only care about the cosmetic rewards. And the queues were so fast for me, it was like negligible if I even died, because you just got immediately into another match. Though if you have some bad luck, you can spend more time in the little hub area they have than actually in the game, but I was playing really risky there, so again, if you just want the cosmetic rewards, you can just go farm NPCs, farm a bunch of plunder, which just drops everywhere, and you can get a lot of plunder. I got like consistently 500 to 1,000 plunder a game, and I imagine you could get way more if you hyper-focused on getting plunder, whereas I was focusing more so on leveling up and trying to actually win. Okay, so that's the reward structure here with Plunderstorm, but how does it actually play? Like we talked about before, you have a leveling system, open chests, kill other things, you get levels, but the combat system itself is far more akin to, say, an ARPG than an MMORPG, or just basic WoW. You have two main keybinds, one for like an auto attack thing that you press for a frontal, like, cleave area, and you have another button to chug a keg of brew to heal up. It's a channeled spell. You then have 5 other buttons you can press, but what those buttons do depend on the pieces of gear you pick up in the map. There's 2 offensive spells, 2 utility spells, and then like an ultimate spell that can be either utility or a bunch of damage. Things like rocketing yourself up in the air and then slamming yourself down, a mechano hog, or having an actual airstrike be called in. A lot of these abilities are rather cool and rather fun, and they're starting to actually implement some of these abilities into the base game. With the next patch, 11.1, I believe monks are getting an ability called Slicing Winds, which comes from Plunderstorm, and utilizing your various abilities and your own skill, because a lot of the attacks that you encounter in Plunderstorm as a mode, you can dodge. It is a skill check. Well, to some degree. It's a very simple gameplay loop, but I tend to find it to be very satisfying. And I found myself just immediately going to another match because I wanted to keep playing. I think they're really onto something here. Now, I understand when this mode first came around, it was a bit controversial and polarizing. One, it's an MMORPG, and there's a lot of people out there that just associate battle royales with things like Fortnite and call it up as just cringe, and don't, give it the time of day. And on the surface, it can absolutely feel like Blizzard trying to chase a trend with the Battle Royale thing, and to some degree, yeah, but I also think it's just well executed here. It's not something you're going to be playing for like 10 hours a day for a year straight. It's just a month-long event, and there's a bunch of transmog and cosmetic stuff you can grind out if you want, and if you really enjoy the game mode, you can then continue to just dump hours into it if you want. Like, just with 2 hours of play, I got a full transmog set, a couple weapon transmogs, couple pets as well. From what I heard, it was extremely grindy when it first came out. Here, I don't find it to be extremely grindy unless you're like trying to go for every single single reward, but if you prioritize the things you really want first, I don't think it's that grindy. And I think the mode is fresh and new and interesting enough to be fun and enjoyable. And I like what they've been doing with these events, namely Plunderstorm and Mr. Pandaria Remix. That is, put them at the end of a content cycle, which is ordinarily drier than the Mojave, and give players something to do and something to look forward to if they want to partake in that content. If you don't like Plunderstorm and you don't care about the cosmetics, you don't have to touch the mode. If you want something to just tide you over until Undermined comes out, probably late February, then Plunderstorm inserts itself quite nicely into that equation. It's a really simple gameplay loop that is done very well. I think the balancing of certain abilities is a bit crap. I'm not joking, I think 70% of my deaths took place to, say, this one ability where you just turn yourself into a fire tornado. It's probably a skill issue on my part, because I'm not like that good at this mode or anything like that, right? But that didn't stop me from getting into the top 3 a couple of times. But still, that dang fire tornado, I kid you not, was the reason I died for about 70% of my runs. Because I think the target is invulnerable while they're using it, but it also chunks away at your health, and it feels like they move faster than you. It's crazy. And I could never find this thing, funnily enough. It's like my opponent spawned in with the thing, and I just couldn't discover it despite tracking down all of the Arathi Highlands inch by inch. Pent-up frustration aside, this mode is still really fun. And I get that it's easy to be pessimistic and to point out any flaw and hyper-focus on the issues, right? I've played World of Warcraft for years. I understand that mentality. I also think it's important to be able to state when something is really cool and different and interesting. And I like that World of Warcraft is willing nowadays to try to take a risk and to do modes like this. Throw things at the wall and just see what sticks. If it's a flop and no one likes the mode, you don't have to do it, but it gives them an opportunity to test things that wouldn't ordinarily work in the base game, see how players respond to it, and if it works well enough, you can then implement it into the game. I think something like Slicing Winds is a good example of that. And while they're testing out various new mechanics, we get a pretty fun mode to just sink some time in before the next big content update. And I know Plunderstorm is not new, it's been in the game before, I just haven't played it. I was still down and out on World of Warcraft back then. I wasn't playing Plunderstorm. But now that I'm back in and that Blizzard has largely got its claws deep within me once again, I really like Plunderstorm. I don't think I'm going to play it for like hundreds of hours or anything like that, but I don't need to. It's just a fun little silly wacky mode to do on the side if I want a break from something. Each game only feels like it takes like 10 to 20 minutes if that, so if I have a few spare minutes I can just go do a match, get some plunder, probably get a new cosmetic that I've been wanting, and Bob's your uncle. Does it have its faults? Absolutely, as we talked about before. And it can be easy to focus in on the issues. I think a lot of the mounts just being like different birds is a bit crap, but when it comes to something like this, I just rather focus on the positives. It's dumb, mindless fun, and I think it's okay to have that every now and then. We don't need to hyper-fixate on the negatives all the time. I think it's important to call that stuff out, but it's also important to just state when something's cool. We don't need to take everything super seriously all the time. So yeah, overall, I quite like Plunderstorm. It's a thumbs up for me. I like being able to get the cosmetics for my regular characters, and I like that it's a bit of a distraction and something else. It's like candy, I wouldn't want to play it all the time. It won't be my main form of nutrition, but every now and then, having that sugary delight is quite nice and refreshing. And with that, I think I'll call the video there for the day. Thumbs up for me. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.